Hello, my friends. Today, let's begin right away with the Pokrovsk direction. The situation here remains extremely difficult. Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups continue trying to break into the towns. Yesterday, there were already reports of breaking into Bilytske and Rodynske. Small groups are conducting recon missions, but so far the Ukrainian forces are eliminating them and not allowing them to establish positions. The Ukrainian forces also released drone footage showing another Russian sabotage reconnaissance group practically in the center of Pokrovsk. They tried to hide in a private home, but an FPV drone struck and destroyed the house. Whether the Russians were eliminated is still unknown. In addition, reports say that Russian units entered Nikanorivka and killed all the men. This suggests that the village is no longer under Ukrainian forces' control, allowing Russians to enter and do whatever they want. Clearly, Russian SRGs are everywhere now and are trying to push forward further and further. Previously, this wasn't happening because there were strong defensive lines in front of the cities, with Ukrainian forces, soldiers holding the line. But around Pokrovsk and Rodynske and other settlements, it appears those lines weren't there. So the Russians are advancing deeper. This already points to the fact that Russians are entering open operational areas where no defensive lines exist. But it seems they're not even trying to hold ground. What they really want are washing machines. Another video surfaced online showing Russians dragging a washing machine across the fields. If anyone knows what's so valuable inside a washing machine, tell me in the comments. Meanwhile, assaults on Volodymyrivka continue and they advancing toward Nikanorivka, which is now essentially a gray zone. Attacks are also underway near Novoekonomichne and assaults are ongoing in Lysivka, Chunishine, and the outskirts of Pokrovsk. They are also breaking through near Kotlane and assaulting Удачне and Novopavlivka. And the Russians are occasionally break through using vehicles, but Ukrainian forces are successfully destroying them. For now, no territorial changes have occurred over the past day, and the battles go on. In the Novopavlivka direction, assaults on Muravka continue. Russians are trying to break through near Горіхове and Dachne and are storming Zelený High and Alexandrograd. As for Zelený High, the Ukrainian side still hasn't confirmed the loss, so we're waiting. In the direction of Velika Novosilka, Russian forces are advancing in the area of Malivka, storming Vilne Pole, Temerivka, and pushing forward near Zelene Pole. The situation here is also difficult. Fighting is already taking place even in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and unfortunately, Ukrainian forces haven't been able to stop the Russian advance. In the Zaporizhzhia direction. The Russians are attacking the outskirts of Plavny village and carrying out shelling. However, so far they haven't been able to move closer to Stepnohirsk, and the front line has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces are advancing on the islands and the activity remains high. However, they are not achieving any success. All Russian groups are being destroyed, and although Russia continues to shell the right bank of the Dnipro, they have made no progress. Now moving to the Kostyantynivka direction. Russian troops are assaulting Alexandru Shultine, advancing in the area of Sherbinivka and Alexandru Kalinove, and engaging in battles near Poltavka. Here, the Russians are trying to break through the last defensive line, beyond which they essentially only open fields leading to Drushkivka. This is the direction where they plan to stretch the front line. However, there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In the Kramatorsk direction, Russian forces are trying to advance toward Novomarkove, but have made no progress, and all attacks over the past 24 hours have been successfully repelled. In the Siversk direction, Russian troops are attempting to break through to Yampil, assaulting Serebryanka, advancing near Grigorivka, pushing toward Siversk, and attacking Fedorivka. However, they are not achieving any success, and all attacks are being successfully held off. In the Lyman direction, Russian forces are assaulting Dvorichna, Kolodiazne, Shandrigolove, Serednye, and Novy Mir, and are trying to break through near Kharkivka. So far, there have been no changes over the past 24 hours, but Russian activity remains very high and the situation is tense. In the Borova direction, the situation has stabilized for now. Russian troops are not launching new assaults, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kupyansk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Redkivka and Golubivka and are attempting to break through near Pishane. They are trying to advance because capturing and encircling Kupyansk remains a key objective for them. However, activity here is relatively low and they've made no progress. For now, the front line remains unchanged. In the Dvorichna direction, however, Russian troops have managed to make significant advances through the fields toward the village of Kolodiazne. Attacks continue in the area today as they try to expand their control. The situation here is gradually worsening. In the Kharkiv direction, the situation remains stable for now. The Russians are not launching new assaults, and nothing has changed in the Vovchansk area either. In the Sumy direction, Russian troops are storming Andriivka, trying to break through near Oleksiivka, and even crossing the border toward the village of Stepne. There are also attempts to push through near Tyotkina. However, the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks, and the front line remains unchanged. Meanwhile, Trump continues to make bold statements about new tariffs.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you mentioned today that India, in addition to its 25% tariff rate, would pay an additional penalty because of its support of Russia. What is that additional penalty? And are other countries facing the same threat?
Well, we're negotiating right now, and it's also BRICS. You know, they have BRICS, which is basically a group of countries that are anti the United States, and India is a member of that, if you can believe it. It's an attack on the dollar, and we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar. So it's partially BRICS, and it's partially the trade, this trade situation. It's the deficit. We had a tremendous deficit. So, as you know, Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff, but you'll know at the end of this week. August 1st is a very big day for this country because money is going to pour into the United States like we've never seen before. Yes, ma'am.
And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.